Osher Band is an Israeli transgender teen who was bullied so badly at school she stayed at home for over 6 months. When her school in Ashkelon threatened criminal proceedings if she didn't come back, she returned and was hospitalized with a traumatic brain injury. Now, in a remarkable move, nearly 60 Orthodox rabbis sent her, the education ministry, and her principal a letter of support. One of those rabbis joins us here in the studio, Rabbi Yitzhak Ajzner. Happy Passover. Welcome to the studio.
Hag Sameach to you too.
So I don't put words in your mouth. What exactly does this letter of support for this transgender teenager say?
Well, the main thing is to give comfort and to console Osher. She's been through a terrible trauma, so we wanted to show her that the rabbis, the religious world cares. That's one thing that we tried to attain through the letter, and then we also turned to the Ministry of Education and to the school and to the entire system to consider what's gone wrong. We don't blame them for what's happened. We understand they're doing their best. Their resources are limited, and they have as far as we understand, they do have the appropriate attitude. And yet something's gone wrong. We have Osher at home, too scared to leave her house. What can we do for Osher? But it's not just that. It's the violence in the Israeli society which is rampant against the entire LGBTQ plus community. There's so much hate and discrimination and prejudice built into the society, and this letter is asking the Misrad HaChinuch, the Ministry of Education, to take stock and to consider, why has this happened? Let's consider the case of Osher as a trigger, ring the alarm bells and think, well, what do we have to do to get rid of the plague which is right throughout Israeli society?
I suppose what's remarkable about your intervention is that you are a group of Orthodox rabbis, not Reform, not liberal, not conservative, Orthodox rabbis stepping in defense of a transgender teenager. I have to say, even recognizing her as a woman, use the pronoun she. So how help to maybe bust some stereotypes does this fit within the world of Orthodox Judaism?
It was important for us to emphasize that we are Orthodox rabbis. I would like to say it's not despite us being Orthodox rabbis, but because we're Orthodox rabbis. We all consider, all those who are signed on the letter, that the most basic and the foundation of Judaism, of Torah values, of Orthodoxy, are values such as the image of God, that each and every human is created in the image of God, and to love one's fellow man. And if everyone's...
Or woman.
Oh, man, you're 100...
As the case may be.
100%. I had no intention of making that distinction. But if each and every one of us is created in the image of God or goddess, so no, of God, then that has a lot of implications. It means each and every one has an infinite value. And where's that coming into play when you have people like Osher who are being beaten? Each one of us is equal. Each one of us has a holy spark if we're an image of God, and therefore need to be cherished and are precious. And
I understand this element about human dignity, but what I'm struggling to understand is, halachically, under Jewish law, does your brand of Orthodox Judaism recognize, say, transgender women as women? I mean, that bears religious legal implications in terms of people's obligations, where they sit in synagogue, etc.
We purposely didn't want to go there. It's a very prickly topic, as you're alluding to correctly now. And that wasn't the topic of the letter, whether we do or don't approve or condone any sort of transgender behavior.
It's not a question of approving, it's a question of recognizing her chosen identity as indeed being her sex. You refer to her as being a girl, as she wishes to be.
I certainly don't have a mandate to speak in the name of these, it's actually more than 60 rabbis now, who have come out to console and comfort Osher. So I can't give you a halachic ruling. We try to stay clear of that.
Because it does raise tricky questions within Judaism.
It does raise tricky questions, but our point is that those questions in no way can contradict the basic commands, the basic obligation to respect and to love and to show compassion. Those are the most important things. We can take care of all the other things. They're side issues in comparison.
Some liberal Reform rabbis might say, actually, that you don't go far enough in the acceptance of LGBT. Do you think that would be a fair criticism, even of modern open Orthodox movements like your own?
I think the modern Orthodox rabbis now are making a tremendous effort to accommodate and to accept the LGBTQ community. There's still a lot of room. I'm not pretending that there aren't problems, but we are now coming from a basis of compassion and of acceptance and indeed of love. And those need to be the most basic things. What do we do with all the problems? We're in a struggle with that. We're we're in a process. But let's do that with mutual dignity, with respect. These are people. And I've had a lot of experience in the past few years speaking with these people. And there's such a human side of the suffering that's going on here. I myself, in the past couple of years, have had the privilege of having long and heart-to-heart conversations with several transgenders. And invariably, these personal conversations, they're heart-rending, they're horrific, and they're tragic. And we need to have compassion for these people. That's the ABC of all this. Anything else can be worked out. But once you've got that basic attitude and approach of not being judgmental, and stop calling them names, and stop degrading them, these people,
I imagine you've received a backlash from the more reactionary movements within the Orthodox movement. Are we seeing, briefly now, a split between modern and perhaps more reactionary forms of Orthodoxy?
I don't think there's a split yet. There's a lot of friction. There are those who will emphasise the more loving and compassionate messages, as I'm trying to do.
Between some who are more Haredi and some who veer closer to the outlook of the conservative movement.
Right, as of now, we're all under the umbrella of Orthodox, but obviously there is tension, and we're...
Rabbi Ajzner, a fascinating discussion. Thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. We're taking a quick break. After the break, a musical surprise.